So in previous videos, we've gone over how to create a pro forma and how to project out what we think the returns will be on a rental property. However, we never really went over what role debt plays into this and why someone would want to take on the risk of debt in purchasing a rental property. So we're going to go over that here. For this example property, purchase price is $384,990. Now, if we only put down 25%, which we showed we couldn't, but let's bring it up to where it could cash flow. Let's try 50% loan to value. So that cash flow is at about $1,300. Not a huge cash buffer, but it's still an option. Your internal rate of return is only 9%, 9.5%. But if you take a step back and you look at this, you're only having to come up with about $200,000 or $196,000 to put down on this property. Rather than if you were to buy it in cash, you'd have to come up with all $384,990. And this is where it plays into the returns, because in this scenario, you're getting 9.5%. That includes the principal pay down plus the appreciation plus the net cash flow. Now, take a look. So that was 9.5%. Now, if we just change to putting 100% down, if we put the full $384,990 down on this property, and we scroll down, take a look at this, our overall internal rate of return drops to 8.2%. Now, that's only 1% difference. 8.2 instead of 9.2. But overall, in your physical returns, a 1% difference in the realm of 9.2 and 8.2%, that's like a 10% difference in earnings, right? So if we go back up here, you can see some of the benefits of buying in cash is you would have the full $16,000 in net cash flow, which would give you a pretty good cash buffer there, and you'd have a 4.24% cash on cash return, which honestly is more than a cash on cash return than you could see on very many other investments. Most investments that most people have access to in the equities market and everything, dividends are not going to be approaching 4.24% per year. There's some that get close. Every once in a while there'll be a company that has a little bit over that, but it's usually coupled with a pretty volatile stock. If it's much higher than that, real estate is a solid asset and it's not nearly as volatile as stock, so there's some serious security there. But if we go up here, think about it this way. This is how most investors think about it, and this is how you can start understanding where debt would come in as a useful tool. Risky, but useful tool. So if we're having to come up with 100%, $384,000, we can buy one house, and that one house, brings in this much cash flow. Or in other words, if we translate this out to our actual dollar return, whether we get it in cash, we're only getting the $16,314 in cash. But if we calculate out the accrued return of the appreciation plus a net cash flow, which would be, the 8.2% times our initial investment of $384,990, that means we're accruing about $31,000 a year return on investment. Now, if we go and we say, well, I only want to put 50% down on this property, well, let's see how that changes. Now, if we go, I'll have to edit this formula real quick, so we'll change it to times our initial investment right here, right? So you bring in $31,713 is your accrued profits. And accrued basically just means what you have accumulated, or what you're counting as your earnings. even if you haven't received it in cash yet. You know, the value of the property has gone up. A portion of that is about half of this number is just appreciation, because you're getting about 16,000 actual cash flows, and the rest is appreciation. Now, if we go back here and we say, oh, we just want to put down 50%, then you come up with about half as much money, but it's not exactly half the return on investment. You're getting $18,720. Now, if we take $18,720 times 2, because remember, right here, we're putting down 50%. We're only putting down, $192,000, which means we have the other half that we can use and buy a second property. And so if you take this out and look at this, now you can see we're making $37,000, which is more than the $31,000 that we were making on just one property, right? And the bigger advantage too is, or a different way to illustrate it, I guess, would be, you can look at the fact, you can put 100% down, and now you are getting 4% appreciation on the purchase price, which is the exact amount of money you put down on the property. Or if you just put down 50%, you're still getting 4% appreciation on the purchase price, but you only had to use $192,000 to make that happen. So you're taking less money to make more money. But as interest rates go up, the debt strategy becomes more and more difficult, but can still be worth it. However, there are other risks you need to take into account. So I would recommend just making yourself familiar with a pro forma. Do a few pro formas on a few different properties. I've done over several hundred of them. I did over 100 of them before I bought my first property, and so I'd recommend you just go through it. I'll try to link it in the description where you can text me or shoot me an email, and I'll get that out to you.